Welcome to Secret Story. After closing a big deal last night over dinner, I caught an early plane home. I was out late with Earl Johnson, my client, celebrating our agreement and the huge bonus I would receive at the end of the month. It will be enough to finally be able to take Piper on vacation to Italy as I had promised her at the beginning of the year. I texted Piper last night but never heard back. It was a Thursday night, her girls' night out with the girls from her office, so I knew she was having fun with them. I will see her tonight. I plan to buy her some flowers and take her to dinner to announce the big deal closing and the Italy trip. My plane landed, I gathered my luggage. And I made it to my car. As I sat there, I texted Piper. My text, "Hey baby, want to go to dinner tonight, got good news to share." Piper's text, "Sure, what time are you back?" My text, "Just landed, going to run to the office and be home normal time." Piper's text, "Tom, you're in town now. I thought you didn't land till late this afternoon." My text, "That was the plan, but after last night, I need to get to the office and do some things before the weekend. I took an early flight." There was a long gap with no answer. I drove along and decided I could work from home and deserved the rest of the day off, so I went home. As I turned down the street, I saw a car resembling Marion's, Piper's best friend. Then there was a shiny black Corvette parked across the road, and I wondered who it was. As I pulled into the driveway, I got a text from Piper. Piper's text, "Sorry Tom, I got distracted. Okay, well, I'll see you at home later. Surprise me with the restaurant." I thought that was a weird text, but I responded with a smiley face emoji. I pulled into the garage, grabbed my bags, and walked into the house. There was music playing somewhere, and I walked through the mudroom into the kitchen and stopped dead in my tracks. My God, what the hell? In front of me was a total disaster. Scattered around the kitchen were a couple dozen beer cans and bottles, half a dozen empty wine bottles, and half-empty wine glasses. On the counter were plates of half-eaten food and ashtrays with cigarette butts and half-smoked blunts. Jesus, I shook my head. It was a mess, and I was afraid to look at other rooms. I took out my phone and got a lot of pictures, not touching anything. There was a party here last night or even longer. That was what Piper's weird text was about. I walked out into the living room. Jesus, it was another disaster. There were more beer cans, wine bottles, and glasses. There was a giant ashtray on the coffee table I had never seen before. It was full of cigarette butts and several partially smoked joints. There was a stench in the air. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it smelt like stale cigarettes. Reefer, booze, and something else. As I looked around, I saw a bong, and some open foil wrappers on the end table beside the sofa. I picked one up, then it hit me, that was the other ingredient in the air. What the went on here last night? Who was here? What had Piper done? A horrible feeling of fear, anger, and disgust overtook me. I felt sick. I carried my bag down the hall to the stairs up to our bedroom and saw a trail of clothes leading up the stairs. I picked up a and was relieved that it was not Piper's size. But whose was it? I left my bag at the bottom of the steps and followed the trail of clothes up the stairs. The clothing trail continued down the hall, scattered into the guest room. And the music I heard came from there. I slipped off my shoes. I quietly walked down the hall. The door to the guest room was partially open. I looked in. On the bed were Marion and some black guy with they were sleeping. I looked around the room. There were other cans, bottles. I didn't touch anything but took pictures and a short video scanning the room. I walked back down the hall, letting them sleep. As I stepped into our bedroom, I was shocked. A feeling of dread spread over me, and the churning in my stomach became worse. I stopped at the door, looking in at a total disaster in front of me. The bed was a complete wreck, and there were clothes all over the floor. Some of them I thought were Piper's and other women's and men's too. I walked into the room. There was an empty wine bottle, 2 glasses, and a half-empty bottle of Patron. I took pictures and a video. They walked into the bathroom. There was more evidence. Some clothes were stuffed in the hamper, large ones, in the trash can. The whole scene was disgusting that I opened the hamper and pulled out some of Piper's clothes. I laid them on the counter, picking up the next pair. They were the same. The third was the same. I poured out the remaining clothes but found no more. My anger rose to a critical level. My mind flashed over what I was looking at and thinking. What had Piper done, and whom had she done it with? Up to this point, I had remained calm and assessed the situation. I was amazed I was able to do that. I sat on the tub edge for a minute, trying to clear my mind. What the had I just walked into? It was not just a one-night party, it must have gone on for several days. I had been away for 4 days, so this must have started the day I left. I took more pictures, 30 or so, then another video, then I set up the panties on the counter and took pictures of everything I saw, each pair of in detail, the clothes in the hall, the wrappers, the destroyed bed. I noticed that they were all from Victoria's Secrets, and Piper doesn't like them, so they must be someone else's. That was of some relief that I walked downstairs with my shoes in hand and set them in the kitchen with my luggage and briefcase. I took a beer out of the fridge and drank it, looking outside. Holy shit, 3 more people were lying by the pool, 2 big black guys and a blonde, white girl. I didn't know what to think. They looked passed out that I took pictures of them from the window and took more photos and videos of everything I saw. The beer cans, wine bottles, drugs, and thin white dust on a mirror on the counter. Knowing what that was, that I went back upstairs, gathered more clothes I needed, and packed a bag so I could get the rest later. I looked around our bedroom, not knowing when or if I would be back. I pulled out a small trash bag, used tissue for fishing them out, and put them in the bag that I returned to the hamper and took out all the soiled. Putting them in the bag that I carried my evidence and my suitcase downstairs. I checked the trash for more evidence. There were several more in the kitchen trash, so I took them, a couple of used joints from the ashtray, and some beer cans for DNA. I put them all in plastic bags. I wasn't sure what I was doing with all of this, but I knew I needed it as evidence for my protection when I divorced Piper. I took a few final pictures, picked up my suitcases and bags of evidence, and left. I put them in my car, returned to my home office, and opened my safe. I out the $25,000 in cash, and all my securities and bank information. I made sure that I had my original prenup agreement and my will. I only left Piper's birth certificate and the title to the house that I quietly put on my shoes and left home for the last time. That it was just afternoon, so I went to the office. When I walked in, everyone cheered me on for making the big sale. I appreciated them all, especially since I found out my wife was cheating on me, in my house, in my bed. I talked to James, the president of the company. I told him, since I closed the big sales that Rochelle and I will finish, I have some personal things I need to get straightened out, so I am taking next week off. I will work Saturday to get all the info entered so the order can be processed on Monday. Is everything okay at home, Tom? Sensing something was wrong. Well, to be honest, I don't know, James. That's what I need to figure out. If I can help in any way, son, just let me know. You know you are like family to me. Gripping my shoulder and squeezing it, that I thanked him and left. I went to my office and gave Rochelle all the documents for the sales. Then we headed out to lunch. Rochelle is a sweet young lady and very efficient in her job. We are close, but only from a business point of view, good business friends. She just got married to a super guy, a VP of our local bank. As we ate, she could tell something wasn't right. Tom, what's going on? You seem distracted. Is everything okay? I looked at her and knew I needed to tell someone, so I said. Okay, you cannot repeat anything I will tell you. Tom, what is it? What has happened? I think Piper is cheating on me. No way. She was shocked at what I told her. Yes, I am sorry to say, it's true. I got home early today after closing the big deal with Earl last night. I went home straight from the airport, and the house was a disaster. There were clothes strewn all over the house, and Marion, Piper's best friend, and some black guys were sleeping in the guest room. "Oh my God, Tom, I am so sorry, oh no, that's horrible." Rochelle cried aloud. Suddenly my breathing became hard, and I felt sick. I couldn't eat anymore. I was numb and had no idea what to do. Rochelle reached across the table and took my hand. I looked down and whipped my face. "What are you going to do?" I packed more clothes, took the cash, all my valuable papers, and left. I made a reservation at a hotel in Anderson, so she can't find me. She will start looking for me when I don't come home and don't answer her calls or text. Piper will call the office looking for me. You know nothing. I'm not telling you where I am staying, so you can honestly tell her you don't know where I am. I will be taking a few days off starting Monday. Can you come for a couple of hours on Saturday and help me clear my desk off? Sure, what time? Would 10 a.m. be okay? We should finish by noon. We finished eating, paid the bill, and drove Rochelle back to work. I headed to the Holiday Inn in Anderson, 40 miles away. This whole mess hadn't hit me yet. I checked into the hotel and put my clothes away. I had booked it for a week, so I had time to figure things out. As I sat looking out over the parking deck, I thought over the 5 years Piper and I had been married. I thought we were perfect together, and we loved each other. I still love Piper, but I wasn't sure after seeing what I saw today. I know I can't just turn my love off like a switch. It's part of me, who I am. After Rochelle and I got to the restaurant, I turned my phone off. It was about 3:30 now, and it was time that I thought through everything I needed to do. I pulled out a yellow pad and scribbled down a list of things I needed to do immediately. Call a lawyer. Split my bank accounts. Cancel joint credit cards and set up separate ones for me. Talk to my broker about protecting my investments so they can't be touched. I am safe there since the prenuptial agreement should cover all of that. I am sure of the same with my 401k, but I need to change the beneficiary on everything. I needed a private investigator. I knew William, my brother, had a good one he used, so I needed to call him. The list was a good start. I used the house phone to start calling. I called Jason Kelly Esq. He is my attorney and the lawyer that drafted my prenuptial agreement, my will, and a few other essential things I have needed. I needed an appointment ASAP. His assistant answered and put me right through. I briefly told Jason what the issue was, and we decided to meet in Anderson for dinner at 6:30 and go over everything I knew. I told him I had my copies of the legal papers with me, and Piper's copies were in her safety deposit box at the bank. I called my brother William and briefly told him what I suspected and that I needed a good PI to get me proof and confirmation. He recommended the Thomas Wink Agency, and he called Thomas, and we had a three-way call. I told Thomas the situation, and we agreed to meet tomorrow morning at his office. He asked for my wife's contact details and home address so he could get started tonight. I supplied all the info he needed. And we hung up. I called my banker Ed Koch. I moved 50% of the money from the joint checking account, and 50% from the savings account into a new personal account. There were 2 bank CDs, and I removed myself from one and had Piper removed for the other, leaving each of us with equal CD values. I canceled our joint credit cards and paid off the balance. That left Piper with 2 credit cards, but none of them tied to me. I called Mercedes Leasing, canceling the lease on Piper's SUV. I was not paying for it anymore, and I would pay the penalty for getting out of the lease. I gave them the address where they could pick it up at the end of the month. Monday, I would call the HR department at my company in St. Louis. I needed to remove Piper as any beneficiary for insurance, 401k, and any severance or other compensation my company may pay out upon my death. I will change that all for my brother. I also called my insurance agent and had my brother assigned as the beneficiary for my 2 life insurance policies. After 2 hours, I slumped back on the bed and cried. It was finally hitting me. My wife, the woman I loved more than life, had cheated on me. I curled up in a ball and cried for a long time. soaking the pillow and sheets. Today was the saddest I have ever been, and it was even worse than when my mother passed away last year. My life as I knew it was over, and there was suddenly a massive void in my future. I lay there a long time feeling sorry for myself and getting madder and madder by the minute. I was about to explode with anger. But finally, as I lay there, I calmed and took deep breaths, knowing I needed to find out what was happening and how terrible things were. That I finally got up and took a shower, soaking in it for over 30 minutes. When I came out, I dried myself and dressed in my jeans and a polo shirt. I raided the minibar for a couple of beers and drank them slowly. My mind was clearing a little. I looked forward to talking with Jason over dinner in about an hour and working out a plan to move forward. That I knew I needed to turn my phone on, but I wanted to wait to talk to Jason before I did anything. I needed Piper to work herself into a frenzy worrying about what had happened to me. She deserved that pain, and I wanted her to feel a lot of pain like I was feeling. That I had a couple of paths I could take. I could go home to Piper and move on like things were, all the same, playing the part while I get all the information I can to see just how bad things are. How long has this been going on? Who is she and all those details? Or I could do what I have done and leave her straight away. Neither option was a viable choice, so maybe there were others I haven't seen yet. Jason called me on the hotel phone. "Hey man, I'll be outside in 5 minutes. I'll pick you up, and we can go to Elon's, an excellent restaurant here in Anderson. No one will see us, and we can talk openly there." I washed my face and brushed my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror and looked beaten down, just like I felt. My so-called beautiful life was over. What now? I met Jason out front and headed to the restaurant. We settled in a corner booth, which was early, so the room was empty. That we ordered drinks and an antipasto plate. That I took a big breath and told Jason the whole story as I knew it. I handed him the documents I had. "So, Tom, what do you want to do?" I looked at him and took a slug of my drink. My first thought was to her over as severely as possible. But I realized my emotions were out of control, which may not be the best plan. After thinking over everything I know, then going through all the processes to protect myself and my finances, I still need more information. Then I must make a clear and correct decision. That I need to make sure that I know what is happening and not assume anything. There are a lot of details I do not know, and I can't make rash decisions on half the information. That I believe Piper has been cheating on me from what I saw and the evidence. There might have even been an orgy at my house last night. I talked to my neighbor, who commented, "You guys had a crazy party last night. What was going on? 8 cars were parked in front of your house for several days. And people were always coming and going. So, there is a lot I don't know and need to find out. I am meeting with a PI in the morning to get him to investigate the past several months and move forward. He started tonight doing whatever he does. Neither of us wants to know how he does it, we just want the information," Jason told me. "I understand. I am not to ask anything about methods. Have you communicated with Piper at all? Does she know where you are?" "No, I was planning on just leaving her, but I have decided to go home and let things play out. I am telling her they called me into a long meeting, and my phone died, so I couldn't respond to her. I am going home right after we finish our meeting. Do you want me to prepare divorce papers now or wait? Tell me the divorce laws concerning adultery and what that means to me." Jason explained that adultery in this state is terrible for the cheating party. And I would be protected and could dictate the terms of the divorce. Since there are no children, you could cut her out of everything and would not have any liability for alimony or any type of support. Since Piper has a decent job, you can make almost any settlement offer, and the court will accept it. During our talk, we ordered. I didn't have an appetite, but I ate as I listened to Jason explain things. "So, how does my prenuptial agreement fit in? All your family money and the money you brought into the marriage is protected. As I look at it, you don't owe Piper anything if she has cheated on you. You can give her only what is here from her investments and her 401k and cash. You can give her the house. Sell it, split the proceeds, or throw her out and keep it yourself. Piper is in a very vulnerable position. Let me ask, do you love Piper? Is there any chance you will be willing to work through this and stay with her? I sat for a minute thinking about that question, the same question I had run through my head all afternoon. Jason, I love Piper, and I don't want to lose her, but I cannot accept that she has cheated on me. I don't know how I could trust her in the future. There is so much I don't know now that I need to find out before deciding. The PI reports will help me understand better what she has been doing. The most important thing is Piper's honesty. Is she going to admit what she has done? Is she truly remorseful? And do I believe her? Do I feel I can trust her, and do I want to live with this cloud hanging over us forever? Once all that has been examined, I will make my decision. That sounds like a good plan, so let's get you home and into the fray, reaching over and shaking my hand. You know I am here for you, whatever you need. Keep me posted, okay? I sat in my car, looking at my phone. I suspected there would be a lot of calls, texts, and emails from Piper wondering where I was. She doesn't know I was home, has learned about her cheating, and is worried about me. I turn my phone on, and it explodes. There are almost 20 combined messages. I decided to listen to the first 2 voicemails. Read the first 2 texts, and read the first 2 emails. Then I would determine if I was reading any more. I clicked the first voicemail. Tom, where are you? I thought you were coming home early, and we were going out to dinner. Call me. I clicked on the second, left 30 minutes later. Tom, I am worried now. Where are you? You haven't been home, have you? It looks like some of your things are missing. Call me. I thought for a minute and skipped forward an hour to the 5th text. Jesus Tom, what is going on? Why are your clothes gone? Where are you? I tried to use the joint credit card for gas, and it declined. What's going on? Call me. I'm worried, come home. Then I read her last email about an hour ago. Tom, have I done something? Where are you? I am so worried no one knows where you are. You told me earlier you were already in town and were coming home early. We were going to dinner tonight. Did you come home? You must have. Some of your clothes are gone. What is happening? I don't understand. Call me, come home, please, I am scared. Are you hurt? You might be in the hospital. Where are you? God, I love you. Please come home, Piper. She was getting frantic now, and I didn't want her running to the police and stirring that stuff up. Then I skipped to the last text 10 minutes ago. Tom, please, call me. Come home. I have called the hospitals, and thank God you are not in any of them. Where are you? Why are you doing this, and what is happening? Just as I finished reading the text, my phone rang again. It was Piper. I took a deep breath and calmed myself. I answered, hello. Oh, thank God, you are all right, Tom, she moaned into the phone, crying. What is going on? Where are you? Why have you not called me or come home? Piper, do you have something to tell me? There was silence on the other end. Then sobbing started. It was loud and soon was out of control. Piper, what have you done? Her sobbing became louder and sounded uncontrollable. I waited for her to talk, but all she did was sob. I hung up and drove home. I parked in the garage and walked into the house. It was dark and looked like no one was at home. I turned on the kitchen light, which was clean and tidy, with everything in its usual place. The house looked completely different than earlier today. I walked through the house, and everything was in place. The beds were all made, and the bathrooms were clean. The laundry was still in the hamper. As I opened it, I noticed another pair of Pipers stuffed inside a pair of jeans. I pulled them out, and once again, though were wet, my heart sunk again. As I walked out of the bedroom, I heard a noise from the other end of the hall. I walked slowly toward the noise in the guest room. The door was cracked open, and I slowly pushed it open further. It was dark in the room, but low light from the bathroom cast a soft beam of light brightening the room. Showing Piper balled up on the bed sobbing, I watched her body heaving and shaking as she writhed in emotional pain, sobbing deeply. I needed to comfort her as the loving husband I am. I went to bed and sat behind her. She jumped as I put a hand on her back. Piper, I am home. What is the matter, why are you crying? I am sorry I scared you when I didn't come home on time. Piper turned around and looked at me. Her face was puffy and streaked red with tears. Oh, Tom, thank God you're home. What is going on? Where were you? I pulled her to me and kissed her. A late meeting came up, my phone died, and I couldn't charge it. I'm here now, everything is fine. Piper buried her face in my chest and sobbed more. I knew she was in deep pain now and didn't know what to do. I leaned down and kissed her eyes, cheeks, and lips. Piper held me tight like I was leaving, then she kissed me more passionately. Oh God, Tom, I need you to me. Please hold me. My mind was having a tough time with her request. I knew I needed to make her think I didn't know. I don't think I could even get hard. Piper, you need to get yourself together. I missed our dinner tonight, but we can order some sushi, eat in bed, and then see what happens. But Piper, before we do that, you need to tell me why you are so upset. This is not like you. And I have been unavailable many times before, and you have never reacted like this. What is going on? Piper looked down, took a deep breath, and stopped crying. She sat back and looked at me. There was fear in her eyes, and I thought she might tell me straight away. It was nothing. I had a terrible day and was really looking forward to having a lovely dinner with you. I saw you had come home, and more of your clothes were missing. I was worried and thought you were leaving me, or something had gone wrong. I looked at Piper. It was time to press her, so I stood. If that is all you are telling me, I'm tired, so I think I will go to bed. I walked to the door and turned to look at her. I think you might want to sleep in the guest room tonight. No, God, what is wrong? I need to be with you. Piper pleaded as she was coming behind me. I went into our bedroom and closed the door. Locking it, Piper knocked on the door, turning the doorknob. Tom, no, why did you lock the door? What is going on? God, please talk to me. What is happening? I lay on the bed. Tears ran down my cheeks as I heard her pleading. I was so confused. I couldn't hide my issues with Piper, and I had to get them out and settle them. I stood and walked to the door, unlocked it, and returned to the bed. I sat down, waiting. Piper opened the door, slowly looking inside. Seeing me on the bed, she pushed the door open. She stood looking at me with a look of fear and confusion on her face. Tom, what is going on? She walked to me and sat down. I stood up and walked to my office for the evidence. I was unsure how to start. So I just started. Piper, I need to talk with you about when I got back to town today. She looked at me with confusion. What about today? Well, I took an early flight and returned this morning. When I landed, I sent you a text, but your answers were strange and took a long time to respond. That seemed odd to me, and you seemed distracted. Piper swallowed hard and licked her lips, something she does when she is nervous. I was just busy at work and had a few interruptions. As I left the airport, I was going to go to the office, but I decided I had had a successful week that I wanted to share with you at dinner. I also decided to take the day off and come home, and I would surprise you when you got home with a great date night. Piper was staring at me. Her breathing was ragged, like she was hyperventilating. Piper bit her lip. I knew she knew what I found at home, and she was trying to figure out how to explain it to me. Piper, when I got home, your friend Marion's car was parked in front, and there was a black Corvette parked across the street. I thought that was strange, but no big deal. As I got out of the car, I heard music playing. That was weird. When I walked in from the garage, the house was a disaster. So, before I go any further, you need to tell me about that. Piper was shaking now, wringing her hands as tears ran down her cheeks. Her breathing was short, and she looked horrified that I sat waiting. Tom, what I am going to tell you, you will have a tough time believing, but it is 100% true. When you texted me yesterday, I was busy at work but wanted to talk with you, and I was also concerned that you might go home and find exactly what you found. What you found was the aftermath of a 3-day party that Marion and her friends organized. She asked me if she could use our house for the party since there would be more people than fit in her one-bedroom apartment. I told her no at first, but she begged me, telling me a basketball team and some other girls were coming, and they would have a 3-day. She wanted me to come too, but there was no way I was cheating on you. She begged me more. And I finally said okay, but they had to be out by noon on Friday. Also, the house had to be spotless when they were gone before either of us came home. I stayed at Marion's apartment the whole time. I warned the neighbors that there would be a party for a few days, and they were okay with it. I moved some clothes to her house when I left Monday and didn't go back until Friday after work. Tom, I couldn't tell you. You would have never allowed it. Once it started, Mary Owen called me and told me what she saw in the backyard and how wild things were. I had no way to stop it. She agreed not to call the police. I called Marion and told her they had to shut it down and get out. She agreed, but then they didn't leave until Friday. I listened to Piper's explanation. I thought back on our lives together. We love each other and have been devoted to each other entirely, and we have plans and dreams for our future. Before yesterday, I had thought Piper would never cheat on me, but today I don't know if she has already cheated or ever will cheat on me. That I looked at her. Well, Piper, that was quite a story. How could you make such a stupid decision to let Marion use our house for? They could have destroyed the house, pissed off the neighbors so bad we would have to move out or even burned. Piper started to cry. I am so sorry. I guess the $5,000 they offer me made my decision pretty easy. She stopped crying. A big smile showed on her face. She walked out and returned with a big envelope, handing it to me. That I looked at it, then looked at Piper. What is this? Open it. The envelope was sealed, and I ripped it open and poured the contents onto the bed. Falling on the bed were banded bundles of $100 bills. I looked at Piper, and she was smiling at me. That I pulled her to me and kissed her hard. I gripped her shoulders and pushed her away, looking into her eyes. Is this for real? Yes. How much is it? $8,000 in cash. $8,000, my God, Tom, it's $8,000. Do you know how up I have been thinking you were cheating on me all week? I was ready to kick you out in the street. I love you so much and couldn't believe you would do that. Thank God you didn't. We rolled around on the bed with the money, kissing and cuddling. After 2 hours we woke a few hours later and started again. Our life was back together, and I had to undo all I had done on Friday. Piper, I love you with all my heart. I am sorry I ever doubted you. I know you would never cheat on me. Please forgive me. There is one thing, though, I need you not to see Marion anymore. She could be a bad influence on you. Look at these pictures of the house. Marion is my best friend. We have known each other since we were 10 years old. I will not give up on her as a friend. So that should prove to you she does not influence me, even though I did rent her our house. Look, we did get $8,000. $2,000 a day. That's our Italy vacation right there. Okay, but nothing like this again, okay? I did all the bank stuff on Monday, so all our affairs were set back like before. Our life went on as if nothing had happened. The one thing I did was retain the PI for 3 months to go back for history. They were also to keep Piper under surveillance for 3 months. They put tracking software on her phone, so I could see and hear everything. I just had to be sure she was telling me the truth, that I investigated our trip to Italy and was ready to book our trip. We needed to get the time off work first, so we decided to do it in a month. 2 weeks later I was outside on the deck, reading the Daily Atlanta-Constitution and having a beer. It was early May. The weather was just right, so we had the windows opened. I heard Piper talking to somebody, and I figured it was Marion. I listened in. Yes, we are good. Tom bought the whole story. It was a great plan you had. The Victoria's Secret convinced Tom since I never purchased them. The 3 days were incredible. We need to do it again the next time they are in town. Okay, I am unsure if I can work it out in 3 weeks, but we will see. I love you, Marion. Tom has poker on Friday, so be ready for me, baby. I want you at your place after work. Okay. Bye. I sat there in shock at what I had just heard. Was I stupid? Piper thought she had played me, and I couldn't believe I was so naive to believe her story. My love blinded me, I guess. Until then, she had played me, but I had her on tape. Once I heard the conversation, I knew Thomas had recorded it, that I still had to play the part this time, but Piper was in for a huge surprise that I was disappointed in Piper and myself. She thought she could get away with anything with me, and I was too weak and in love with her to believe what I had seen was her doing. Now that I knew she had cheated on me and what I found was her party, I was going to bury her. She will leave this marriage with nothing. Good luck to her. I contacted Jason Kelly, my attorney, to prepare the papers. I called Thomas Wink and met with him. He had started investigating that first day and stopped when I called him 2 days later. He has been recording calls and text strings for a couple of days. They were all from Marion except one. A basketball player. I went on as if nothing had happened. Piper was a great actress, not showing anything. I spoke with Jason. We had a DNA test done on the I had kept. The female DNA was Piper's, and the male was 2 different guys. One white and one black. I had Thomas lift fingerprints from the house and run them. The black guy was a star player, and the white guy was a coach. Now that I knew who, I was going to them up that I hired a group through Thomas to make something happen. After completing that task, I had no more contact with Thomas, and I paid him in an offshore account from cash I had in my deposit box. No trace, Jason called. The divorce papers were ready, and he held them till I was ready. 3 weeks went by, and the basketball team was in town again. That I told Piper I was going away for the weekend fishing with a couple of guys from work, which Piper didn't know. I left on Friday and was coming home on Sunday. That I told Piper. This was a test for you. What, a test for what? She was not happy. You don't have anything to worry about. I loved you. Okay then. Thomas was still on duty, so I left and checked in at the Holiday Inn in Anderson. I waited for word on their meeting at Marion's. Thomas had the place wired for sound and video. Piper will be shocked once the divorce goes to court. She sees what she will give up. The luxury lifestyle we could have together, and then the meager life she would have alone. My grandfather died 2 years ago and left me a large inheritance, several $1,000,000. The one stipulation he made was that for me to receive the money was that at the time of the execution of the will, all the spouses of my 11 principals receiving money were required to sign a postnuptial agreement. It restricted them from benefiting from this money or any of their property should a divorce occur for any reason. I know that Piper did not remember signing it as we had numerous papers to sign about the estate. The money was not made available until each recipient was 31 years old. And I was eligible on my next birthday in 2 months. It was 3:34 when my phone dinged. It's done, a video file was attached. I opened it, watched for a few seconds, then ran to the bathroom, vomiting violently after seeing Piper. I never wanted to see or touch her again. My alibi was lying next to me, sleeping. My sister had come to help me after I told her what was happening, and she was sleeping peacefully as I got the news. There was some peace in knowing Piper was finally getting what she deserved and could no longer lie to me, cheat on me, and would no longer be my wife. The final revenge was Marion. She would lose her job. She would be fired the following Monday, losing a job he had been in for over 10 years. I resigned from my position, effective in a month. I will be moving to Florida. I had no idea what to do there, but I wanted a fresh start away from all the betrayal that I arrived home about 4:30 Sunday with some fish I had bought. Piper was happy and kissed me, almost making me vomit. I played along, the last time. It was early evening, and things were going as planned. We grilled burgers a little later and sat on the deck looking at the stars. I drank a couple of beers, and Piper had red wine. It was the calm before the storm that I looked at my watch. It was 8 p.m. It was time, and I got up to go. Just then, the doorbell rang. I yelled back, "Honey, can you get that? I am in the bathroom." I wasn't, but I wanted Piper to answer it. She opened the door. I heard, "Officer, may I help you?" "Hello, are you Mrs. Piper Harris?" "Yes, what is this?" "Ma'am, you have been served." He handed her the thick yellow envelope and took a quick photo of her. I walked out just as she collapsed to the floor, instantly sobbing. I stood watching as the sheriff stepped inside. "Ma'am, by court order, you have 30 minutes to leave the premises with every personal belonging you want to take. I am here to enforce this order, so please make this easy for us all." He handed the paper to Piper, sobbing on the floor. Piper watched for a moment, then looked at me. Her face showed embarrassment as she looked away. "Piper, what is the guy's name? I should at least know your lover's name, don't you agree?" Piper looked up at me. "Lawton King." "Who?" "Lawton King." Few others were attacked after they lost their game last night by some angry fans. "Are they okay?" Piper gasped, her face showing her shock. "Is he okay?" Piper looked at me. I saw tears running down her cheeks, not for us, but him. Piper knew it was my revenge when a slight smile spread on my face. I walked over to the desk and brought her a pen. "Piper, sign the papers now before something else happens." Tears dropped on the papers as she signed with a shaky hand. I pulled her up and looked her in the eye. "To ensure that I never do either, I will be leaving Atlanta in a few weeks for a place unknown to you. I have sold the house to my assistant and her family. Piper, I hope that you and Marion have a wonderful life together." "Oh, it is so sad she is losing her job on Monday." Piper looked at me, knowing I was the cause of that as well. She never knew what I was capable of. Well, she does now. Now go pack and get thee out of my house. You only have 18 minutes. Goodbye, Piper. Goodbye, Thomas. I do love you, Thomas, and always will. I am so sorry. With that, I walked out through the kitchen to the back deck and sat looking up at the stars. A while later, the officer slid the door open. "Mr. Harris, she is gone. I am sorry that this happened to you." "Thanks, officer. It's sad, I thought we had the perfect marriage. But I was wrong. Better if it happened now before we had kids." The officer slid the door closed. I silently cried one last time. I closed my eyes, letting out a big sigh of relief. Tomorrow was another day with lots to do. I will move to Lido Key, near Sarasota, Florida, in 3 weeks to start my new life.